The room was quiet except for the soft hum of the medical machines. Dr. Lyra sat beside the bed, her eyes fixed on the small figure lying there. Kayla was barely 8 years old, but her face showed the weariness of someone much older. The bright colors of the hospital walls did little to brighten the mood. Lyra's heart ached. She was one of the best doctors on the colony, known for her skill and calm under pressure. But this time, even she felt helpless. The colony was far from Earth, on a small planet in a distant solar system. The aliens who lived here had advanced technology and great knowledge about medicine. They had cured many diseases that humans could only dream of treating, but this illness was different. It was rare, even for them. Kayla's body was weak. Her lungs struggled to breathe, and the illness was slowly shutting down her organs. The alien doctors had tried everything they knew. The machines, the medicines, the surgeries, all had failed. Lyra glanced at the other doctors in the room. Their faces were grave. No one said a word. The truth was clear. Kayla had no chance of survival. A soft beep from a monitor pulled Lyra's attention back to the girl. Kayla's breathing was shallow. She coughed quietly, and Lyra gently wiped the corner of her mouth. "We have done all we can," said one of the elder doctors, his voice steady but sad. "Her body is giving up." Lyra nodded slowly. It was true. The best treatments had failed, but she could not stop hoping. She looked at Kayla and whispered, "Hold on, little one." Outside the room, the hospital halls buzzed with activity. The colony was a busy place, filled with people from many different species. They all worked together to build a better life. But today, a shadow hung over the medical center. News of Kayla's condition had spread quickly. The colony's leaders came to visit. They were kind and concerned but understood the truth. The illness was beyond their reach. Lyra stepped outside the room to speak with them. "I'm sorry, but her chances are very low. We must prepare for the worst." One of the leaders, a tall alien with blue skin, nodded slowly. "We must face reality, but we will do everything to make her comfortable." As the day passed, Lyra stayed close to Kayla. She watched over the child with a mother's care. She knew that even if Kayla's body was failing, the spirit inside her was strong. That evening, as the colony's twin suns set and the sky turned deep purple, something unusual happened. A message arrived from the nearby human space station. The humans were a young species, still exploring the stars. They were different from the aliens on the colony, rough around the edges, but known for their courage and creativity. The message said that a human doctor, Ethan, was on his way to the colony. Ethan was famous among humans for his unique medical skills. He had saved lives that others thought lost. The message said he wanted to help Kayla. Lyra was surprised. She had heard stories about human doctors, how they used strange methods and did not always follow the usual rules. Many alien doctors did not trust humans because their medicine was so different, but Lyra's heart told her to try. Kayla's life was at stake, and she could not give up. When Ethan arrived, he was different from what Lyra expected. He was tall, with kind eyes and a calm voice. He did not wear the usual alien medical uniform, but something simpler. He carried no heavy machines, only a small bag of equipment. "I heard about Kayla," Ethan said quietly. "I want to help. May I see her?" Alien doctors exchanged worried looks, but Lyra stepped forward. "She is very sick. We have done all we can." Ethan nodded. "I know. Sometimes new problems need new answers." Lyra led Ethan into Kayla's room. The child looked up weakly and managed a small smile when she saw the visitor. Ethan sat beside her bed and gently took her hand. "Hi, Kayla. I'm here to help you get better." Kayla's eyes sparkled for a moment, and Lyra felt a flicker of hope she had not seen before. Ethan began his examination. His touch was gentle but confident. He asked questions, listened carefully, and looked beyond the machines. His approach was unlike anything the alien doctors had seen. Lyra watched closely. her curiosity growing. Ethan did not immediately use strong medicines or surgery. Instead, he spoke softly to Kyla, encouraged her to breathe deeply, and applied a small, glowing device to her chest. The room filled with a soft light. The monitors showed signs of change. Kyla's heartbeat steadied, her breathing improved. "It's just a start," Ethan said quietly to Lyra. "Her body is fighting. We need to give it a chance." The other doctors watched in amazement. The glowing device was unlike anything in their medical technology. Lyra felt a new kind of hope growing inside her. Hope that maybe, just maybe, humans had something special to offer. That night, Lyra stayed by Kayla's side. The child slept more peacefully than before. The machines beeped steadily. Lyra looked out the window at the stars shining above the colony. She thought about the journey ahead. The road would be long and difficult, but for the first time she believed there was a chance that life, against all odds, could find a way. The next morning, the colony woke to the news that a human doctor had arrived. Ethan's presence was unusual. Humans were not common visitors here. Most of the colony's residents had never met one in person. Some were curious, others were cautious. At the medical center, whispers filled the halls. "A human doctor? Can he really help? Humans are strange, different. Their medicine is untested here." Dr. Lyra felt these doubts too. But she had seen what Ethan did with Kayla the night before. It was something new, something hopeful. She wanted to believe. Ethan moved with calm confidence. He didn't speak loudly or act impatient. Instead, he listened and watched carefully. His ways were different, but they showed respect and kindness. Lyra found herself watching him closely. She wondered what made human medicine so special. In the small medical room, Ethan sat beside Kayla's bed again. The child was weaker than before, but looked at Ethan with a small smile. "Good morning, Kayla," Ethan said softly. "How are you feeling today?" Kayla blinked slowly and whispered, "Better, I think." Ethan smiled gently. "That's good. We're going to work together to make you stronger." Lyra stood nearby, watching Ethan check Kayla's vital signs. He used small, handheld devices and spoke calmly to Kayla, encouraging her to take deep breaths and rest. Suddenly, Ethan pulled out a small glowing device from his bag. It was unlike anything Lyra had seen before, smooth and light, with a soft blue light. "This is a healing stimulator," Ethan explained. "It helps the body repair itself by boosting natural energy." The alien doctors exchanged skeptical looks. They had never heard of such a device. "Are you sure this is safe?" one of them asked. Ethan nodded. "I have used it many times. It works with the body's own systems, not against them." Lyra felt hope rise again. If this human device could help Kayla's body heal naturally, it might be the breakthrough they needed. Ethan carefully placed the device on Kayla's chest. The blue light glowed softly. Kayla's breathing grew steadier. The doctors monitored the machines. Slowly, Kayla's vital signs improved. Her heart rate became more regular, and her oxygen levels increased. "This is remarkable," Lyra whispered to herself. Ethan turned to the doctors. "The body has amazing power. Sometimes, it just needs help to unlock it." The alien doctors began to ask questions. How did the device work? Could it be used for other patients? Ethan explained in simple terms, sharing how humans had developed medical tools to support natural healing. Lyra felt a spark of excitement. This could change everything. But not everyone was convinced. Some alien doctors remained cautious. They worried about using unknown technology on their patients. Others worried about trusting a human whose ways were so different from theirs. That afternoon, a meeting was called in the colony's main hall. The leaders and medical experts gathered to discuss Ethan's treatment and Kayla's condition. The room was filled with serious faces. The blue-skinned leader stood up and spoke first. We must consider carefully. Our traditions and science have served us well for centuries, but we also face new challenges. Perhaps it is time to learn from others. A quiet murmur spread through the room. Another doctor, older and stern, spoke with concern. We cannot risk Kayla's life on unproven methods. We must trust our knowledge. Lyra stood and spoke clearly. I have seen the results. Kayla is stable for the first time in weeks. Ethan's approach is different, but it works. The room fell silent. The debate was intense. Finally, the leader nodded. We will allow Ethan to continue, but under careful watch. Relief filled the room. Lyra smiled, grateful for the chance. Back in the medical center, Ethan continued his care. He spent hours talking with Kayla, learning about her world and sharing stories from Earth. Kayla began to respond more to his kindness than any medicine. She laughed softly at his jokes and reached out to hold his hand. Lyra watched this growing bond and felt warmth in her heart. Maybe healing was not only about machines and medicines. Maybe it was also about trust and hope. Days passed. Kayla's strength slowly returned. Her cheeks regained color. She could sit up and even whisper words of thanks. Ethan showed Lyra how to use the healing stimulator. Together they worked on improving the treatment. Lyra learned new techniques and felt her respect for human medicine grow. One evening, as the colony's moons rose, Lyra stood outside the medical center, looking up at the stars. She thought about the journey ahead. The path was still long and uncertain, but she believed something powerful was happening. Humans, with their courage and new ideas, had brought a fresh light to this faraway place. And maybe, just maybe, they held the key to saving Kayla and many others. The days turned into a week, and Kayla's condition showed slow, but steady improvement. The healing stimulator device Ethan used was working better than anyone had expected, yet the alien doctors remained cautious. Their methods were precise and tested, and this human approach was unfamiliar. Dr. Lyra stayed by Kayla's side every day, observing Ethan carefully. She noticed his calm manner and how he treated Kayla not just as a patient, but as a person, with kindness and hope. One morning, Ethan invited Lyra to join him in his small medical room. It was simple, with only a few tools and some glowing devices resting on a clean table. I want to show you something, Ethan said with a gentle smile. Something that helps the body heal itself. He picked up a thin, flexible strip that looked like a bandage but glowed faintly. This is a bioactive patch. It releases tiny bursts of energy that encourage cells to repair faster. Lyra studied it carefully. But this is unlike anything we have used. How can you be sure it is safe? Ethan nodded thoughtfully. I understand your concern. It took years of testing. It works with the body's natural energy, not against it. Lyra remembered the last time she had felt hope for Kayla. Maybe it was time to try these new ways, even if they seemed strange. That afternoon, with permission from the medical council, Ethan applied the bioactive patch to Kayla's arm. The child winced slightly but nodded bravely. As the patch began to work, Kayla's color grew brighter and her breathing eased. The machines showed better readings. Lyra's heart lifted, but not everyone was happy. In the medical council meeting, a debate grew heated. Many doctors were afraid of losing control. They worried about using untested technology, especially from a species so different from their own. An elder doctor named Terrell stood up. We respect the humans' efforts, but we must be careful. Our science has saved many lives. We cannot gamble with Kayla's. Lyra listened but knew Kayla's life was already a gamble. The old ways had failed her. Sometimes, she said calmly, we must take risks to save a life. Ethan spoke up. I do not ask you to abandon your knowledge. I only ask you to open your minds. Together, we can learn from each other. His words were simple, but they carried weight. The council finally agreed to continue the treatment under close observation. They assigned 2 doctors to work alongside Ethan and Lyra, ensuring nothing dangerous happened. Back in the hospital, the teamwork began. Ethan taught Lyra and the others how to use the bioactive patch and the healing stimulator. They learned how the devices help the body's own healing systems, encouraging cells to grow and repair faster. Lyra was amazed at how different the human approach was. It was less about fighting the disease with strong medicines and more about helping the body heal itself. One evening, after a long day, Lyra found Ethan sitting quietly in the hospital garden. The two sat side by side watching the alien stars twinkle. "Why do humans heal this way?" Lyra asked softly. Ethan smiled. "Because humans have faced many challenges. Our bodies and minds learn to survive hard times. Sometimes we do not have advanced technology, so we use what we have: hope, patience, and the body's power." Lyra thought about that. Maybe the strength of a species was not only in its machines or knowledge, but in its heart. Days passed, and Kayla's health continued to improve. She could sit up on her own and even smile more often. She started to speak, telling stories about her dreams and hopes. One afternoon, Kayla surprised everyone. She reached out and held Ethan's hand firmly. "You saved me," she said simply. Ethan shook his head gently. "You saved yourself, Kayla. I only helped." Lyra watched this moment, tears in her eyes. She knew Kayla was strong inside, stronger than anyone had realized. The colony began to change too. The story of Kayla's recovery spread, and with it a new respect for human medicine. Some aliens came to the hospital to learn from Ethan. They asked questions and shared ideas. A new kind of cooperation was growing, but challenges remained. Some doctors still doubted, and Kayla's illness was not fully gone. The road ahead was long and uncertain. One night, as Lyra checked Kayla's monitors, she noticed a sudden drop in oxygen levels. Panic rose in her chest. Ethan rushed in. "Stay calm. We can fix this." Working quickly, they adjusted the healing stimulator and gave Kayla extra support. Slowly, the readings returned to normal. Lyra breathed a sigh of relief. This was a reminder. Healing was not easy, and every step forward was hard-earned. Ethan looked at her and said, "This is why we never give up." Lyra nodded. She had learned something important. Healing was not just about machines or medicine. It was about hope, patience, and the will to fight. The human doctor had brought more than technology to the colony. He had brought a new way of thinking, a reminder that life was precious and worth every effort. As the colony's moons rose again, Lyra felt a quiet joy. Kayla was alive. She was fighting. And for the first time, the alien doctors believed that maybe, just maybe, a new future was possible. The morning light spilled gently into the hospital room, casting soft shadows on Kayla's peaceful face. Dr. Lyra stood beside the bed, watching as the small child slept more soundly than she had in weeks. The steady beep of the monitors showed signs of life that had once seemed impossible. Ethan sat quietly in the corner, reviewing the data on his tablet. His face was calm, but his eyes carried a quiet hope, a hope that the others in the colony were only beginning to understand. Kayla's body was responding to the treatment. Slowly, surely, her strength was returning. It was a small miracle, but a miracle nonetheless. The alien doctors gathered to observe the progress. Some were still cautious, but many could not deny the changes. Kayla's vital signs were improving, and the symptoms of her illness were fading. Lyra felt a swell of pride, mixed with disbelief. She had never seen anything like this before. "What do you think is happening?" she asked Ethan quietly. He looked up from his tablet. "Her body is healing in ways your science didn't expect. The human techniques are helping her natural defenses grow stronger." Lyra nodded slowly. She wanted to believe, but she also knew there was more to learn. That afternoon, the colony's leaders came to visit Kayla. They were hopeful, but still wary. The illness had taken so many lives before. Could this really be different? The blue-skinned leader smiled softly as he looked at Kayla sitting up in bed, her eyes bright and curious. "This is good news," he said. "Perhaps the humans have brought us a new way." Ethan smiled in return. We humans have learned that sometimes the body can surprise us. It has a power to heal if given the right help. Lyra joined the conversation. We should keep working. Together, combining our knowledge could save more lives. The leader nodded. Agreed. This is only the beginning. That night, Lyra stayed late in the hospital, reading about the human methods Ethan had shared. She was fascinated by how humans used both technology and the power of the mind to fight illness. Ethan noticed her interest. Humans have faced many challenges on Earth. Our medicine grew from the need to survive and adapt. Lyra smiled. Your strength is remarkable. Ethan looked thoughtful. It is not just strength. It is also hope and determination. Humans never give up easily. The next day, Kayla surprised everyone again. She sat up without help and smiled at Lyra and Ethan. I want to walk, she said softly. Lyra's eyes widened. That is wonderful. Kayla, we will help you. With care and patience, they helped Kayla take her first small steps. The room filled with joy as she moved, steadying herself with Ethan's hand. The alien doctors watched in amazement. They had never seen such quick progress. This is truly a miracle, one whispered. But Ethan reminded them gently, it is the body's own power, with a little help. Lyra saw the truth in his words. Kayla was fighting to live, and her body was answering that fight. News of Kayla's recovery spread throughout the colony. People came to the hospital to see the child who had been given a new chance at life. Many were inspired by the human doctor who had helped her. They wanted to learn from him, to understand the new ways that had brought hope. Lyra worked with Ethan to teach others how to use the healing devices. They held small classes and shared their knowledge freely. The colony was beginning to change. Walls of doubt were breaking down. Cooperation was growing. One afternoon, a young alien doctor approached. Lyra, I want to learn more about human medicine. Your work with Ethan is amazing. Lyra smiled. We all have much to learn from each other. But even with progress, challenges remained. Kayla's illness was serious, and her body still needed care. One evening, Kayla's breathing grew difficult, again. The monitors beeped urgently. Lyra and Ethan rushed to her side. We must act quickly, Ethan said, placing the healing stimulator on Kayla's chest again. Lyra adjusted the machines, working with Ethan in perfect sync. Slowly, Kayla's breathing steadied. Relief washed over the room. Ethan looked at Lyra. This is a battle, not a cure. We must be patient. Lyra nodded, feeling both hope and the weight of responsibility. As the nights passed, Kayla grew stronger. She laughed softly and talked about her dreams. Lyra often caught Ethan watching Kayla with a gentle smile. Why do you care so much? She asked one night. Ethan shrugged. She reminds me why we fight. For every life, every hope. Lyra felt a deep respect for him. His kindness was as powerful as any medicine. The colony's people began to see a new truth. Healing was more than science. It was heart, courage, and the will to survive. And in that truth, humans had much to teach. As Kayla's story spread, the colony dreamed of a future where no illness was too strong and no life was lost without a fight. For now, the small miracles were enough. Signs that hope could shine even in the darkest times. As the weeks passed, Kayla's condition continued to improve. She was stronger now, able to sit up for longer periods, and even attempt small steps with help. The alien doctors who had once doubted Ethan's methods began to see the power of this new approach. Yet, not everyone was convinced. In the colonies, council chambers, heated debates continued. Some elders and doctors still worried about trusting human medicine. It was unfamiliar, strange even, and they feared the risks. Lyra found herself in the middle of these discussions more often than she had expected. As Kayla's primary doctor, she felt responsible for her care and for advocating the human approach. She believed in Ethan's methods, but she understood the fears of her colleagues. One afternoon, during a council meeting, The head elder, Varek, spoke with a firm voice. We cannot forget our traditions and the knowledge that has kept our colony alive for centuries. The human methods are not proven here. We must be cautious. Another council member added, Their technology is different. What if it causes harm we do not understand? Lyra listened quietly, then stood to speak. I respect our traditions deeply. They have saved many lives. But Kayla's illness is different. Our usual treatments have failed her. Ethan's methods have given her a chance, something we have never seen before. We owe it to her to try. There was silence in the room. Lyra's words carried weight, but the council was still divided. Varek looked at her thoughtfully. Can you guarantee her safety with these treatments? No one can guarantee outcomes in medicine, Lyra replied honestly. But we can. Watch carefully, adjust treatments, and learn as we go. We must be brave for our patients. After a long pause, Varek nodded slowly. Very well. We will allow the human methods to continue, but under strict observation. Lyra felt relief and hope. It was not a complete victory, but it was progress. Meanwhile, Ethan worked tirelessly alongside Lyra and the other doctors. He shared his knowledge, openly, answering questions and teaching them about human biology and healing techniques. Slowly, walls of suspicion began to break down. In the hospital, Kayla was growing stronger every day. She smiled more and even started to play quietly with simple toys. Her laughter filled the room, bringing joy to everyone who cared for her. One morning, a group of young alien doctors came to observe Ethan's treatment sessions. They were eager to learn, asking questions and taking notes. Ethan welcomed their curiosity and explained everything patiently. Lyra watched this new cooperation with pride. It was more than a medical breakthrough. It was a bridge between two very different cultures. Despite the progress, not all the colony was ready to accept these changes. Some families whispered doubts, and some doctors kept their distance. One evening, Lyra overheard a conversation between two senior doctors in the hallway. This human's methods may be dangerous, one said quietly. We do not fully understand the risks. The other replied, but we cannot ignore the results. Kayla is alive because of him. Lyra wished she could speak to them openly, to help them see the hope that Ethan's work had brought. That night she sat beside Kayla's bed. The child was tired but peaceful. Kayla, Lyra whispered, you are so brave. You have changed many hearts. Kayla opened her eyes and smiled weakly. I want to get better. To play outside again. Lyra gently squeezed her hand. We will help you get there. The next day, Ethan invited Lyra to join him in a small meeting with the medical team. They discussed ways to improve Kayla's treatment and how to safely apply the human healing devices to other patients. Ethan explained, our goal is to combine the best of both worlds, alien technology and human resilience. Lyra nodded. Together we can help more people. As they worked, Lyra saw a new feeling growing in the colony, a sense of unity and hope. People were beginning to believe that healing could come from cooperation, not fear. One afternoon, a family brought their sick child to the hospital, hoping for the new treatment. It was the first time someone had requested human methods directly. Lyra and Ethan welcomed them. They knew the path would not be easy, but they were ready to face it. In the days that followed, the colony's leaders announced a new plan, a medical exchange program. Alien doctors would learn human techniques, and human doctors would study alien medicine. Together, they would build a stronger future. Lyra felt a deep sense of satisfaction. She had fought for this change, and now it was happening. Still, she remained cautious. Healing was a delicate balance, and many challenges lay ahead. One evening, as she prepared to leave the hospital, Ethan joined her outside. The twin suns were setting, casting a golden glow over the colony. Do you think they will accept us? Lyra asked softly. Ethan smiled. I believe they already have. Change takes time, but it's coming. Lyra looked at Kayla's room where the child slept soundly. For her and for all of us, I hope so too. Together they walked back inside, ready to continue the fight for life and hope. Kayla's small room was filled with light from the colony's twin suns. She sat by the window, her eyes wide with wonder as she watched the soft colors of the sky change from gold to deep purple. After so many weeks of illness, she felt a new strength growing inside her. Dr. Lyra entered quietly, carrying a small bouquet of bright flowers from the garden. She smiled when she saw Kayla sitting up, her cheeks rosy and her breathing steady. "You're looking much better today," Lyra said warmly. Kayla smiled back. "I feel better, like I can do more." Ethan stood by the door watching the moment. He had been by Kayla's side from the very beginning, guiding her recovery with patience and hope. Seeing her progress made him feel proud, but also humble. "Your body is healing well," Ethan said softly. "You are very brave." Kayla's eyes sparkled. "Thank you, Ethan." Over the past weeks, Kayla had learned to walk slowly with help. Today she wanted to try on her own. With Lyra's steady hand, Kayla took her first unassisted step, then another. Each step was small but full of meaning, a sign of life's strength and the power of hope. Lyra and Ethan exchanged joyful glances. This was more than a medical success. It was a new beginning. The colony's people had watched Kayla's journey closely. Her recovery had become a symbol of cooperation between species and of the belief that no life should be given up on. The blue-skinned leader visited again, his face warm with approval. "Kayla's progress is extraordinary. She gives us hope for the future." The news spread quickly. Other patients and families began asking about Ethan's treatments. A new energy filled the colony, one of curiosity, trust, and possibility. Ethan and Lyra worked together to set up a new healing center. They trained alien doctors and nurses in the human techniques, blending them with traditional alien medicine. Lyra found joy in teaching. She felt her world growing wider as she learned from Ethan and the other humans. Their ways were different, but they shared a deep respect for life. One afternoon, Kayla visited the new healing center. She was small, but her spirit was strong. She met other children, some sick, some recovering. She smiled and reached out to hold their hands. Lyra watched, tears in her eyes. Kayla had not only gained her own new life, but was helping others find hope too. The healing center became a place of laughter and learning, where differences were celebrated and healing was shared. But Kayla's journey was not just about medicine. It was also about family. Her parents, who had been worried and unsure at first, grew to trust the human doctor and his team. They joined Lyra and Ethan in caring for their daughter, learning and growing alongside her. One evening, as Kayla rested, her mother whispered to Lyra, "You gave her a new life. We are forever grateful." Lyra smiled gently. "Kayla gave us all a new life, a chance to believe." Ethan nodded. "This is just the beginning. Together, we will face whatever comes." Next, Kayla began to dream of her future. She talked about playing outside, running under the twin suns, and learning new things at school. Her laughter was a melody that filled the hospital halls, a reminder of the miracle that had happened. One day, Kayla surprised everyone by saying she wanted to become a doctor, to help others as she had been helped. Lyra's heart swelled. "You would make a wonderful doctor, Kayla." Ethan smiled. "And we will be here to help you learn." The colony embraced this new hope. It was not just Kayla's story, but the story of what could happen when different worlds came together. As Kayla's strength grew, so did the bond between humans and aliens. They learned to trust each other, to share knowledge, and to build a better future. Lyra often thought about how far they had come, from a place of fear and doubt to a place of healing and hope. One evening, as the twin moons rose high, Lyra stood outside the hospital, looking at the stars. She felt a deep peace. The journey had been long and difficult, but it had been worth every step, for Kayla, for the colony, and for all those who believed in the power of life. Ethan joined her quietly. "We have done well." Lyra smiled. "Yes, but there is still much to do." Ethan, nodded. Together we will face the future. And with that, they turned back inside, ready to continue the work of healing, hope, and new beginnings. The healing center was alive with activity. Doctors and nurses from many different worlds moved through the halls, sharing knowledge and learning from one another. The sound of laughter and quiet conversations filled the air, a sharp contrast to the silence and worry that had once filled the colony's hospital. Kayla walked through the center confidently now. She was no longer the weak child who had once fought for her life. She was full of energy, curiosity, and hope. Dr. Lyra watched her with a proud smile. It was hard to believe how far Kayla had come. Her recovery was more than a medical success. It was a symbol of what could happen when differences were set aside and hearts were open. Kayla stopped to greet a group of young alien children who were learning about the human healing devices. She smiled and told them stories of her journey, inspiring them with her courage and determination. Ethan stood nearby, quietly observing the scene. His eyes shone with pride. He knew that their work was not just about medicine. It was about building bridges between worlds and giving hope to those who needed it most. One afternoon, Lyra and Ethan met in the garden outside the healing center. The twin suns warmed. Their faces and the sky was a brilliant blue. "We've come a long way," Lyra said softly. Ethan nodded. "Yes, but this is only the beginning. There are many more lives to touch, many more stories to change." Lyra smiled. "Kayla is proof that hope can heal." Ethan looked thoughtful. "She also reminds us that healing is about more than science. It's about kindness, trust, and the will to keep going, no matter how hard things get." Lyra agreed. "We have learned from each other, and together we are stronger." As they talked, Kayla approached them, holding a small book filled with drawings and notes she had made. "I want to be a doctor someday," she said with a bright smile. "I want to help others, just like you helped me." Lyra and Ethan exchanged a happy glance. "And we will help you learn," Ethan said gently. The colony's leaders visited the healing center often now. They saw how the collaboration between humans and aliens was changing lives. They began to support new programs for research and education, building a future where no illness would go without hope. One evening, during a special ceremony, Kayla stood before the gathered crowd. Her voice was steady as she spoke. "I was, very sick," she said simply. "But thanks to the kindness and help of others, I am alive. I want to help others have the same chance." The crowd applauded warmly. For many, Kayla was more than a child who had survived. She was a symbol of courage, cooperation, and the power of life. Lyra stood beside her, tears of pride in her eyes. She remembered the day Kayla had arrived, fragile and without hope. Now she was full of life and dreams. Ethan watched quietly, his heart full. He had come to this distant colony as a stranger but had found a home and a purpose. The healing center grew and flourished. New patients arrived with illnesses once thought impossible to cure. The combined knowledge of humans and aliens brought treatments that saved lives and gave hope. But the true legacy was something deeper. It was the lesson that no matter how different we are, we all share the same desire to live, to heal, and to help each other. It was the understanding that when we open our hearts and minds, we can overcome even the greatest challenges, and it was the story of a small girl named Kayla, who showed a distant colony that life, against all odds, could find a way. As the twin moons rose over the colony, Lyra, Ethan, and Kayla stood together, looking toward the stars. The future was bright, filled with promise and hope, for in this far corner of the universe, humanity and alien kind had joined hands, and a new chapter had begun.